All right, let's go ahead and get things started. Naturally, the audio was working just fine right up until I started the stream, and then all of a sudden, it doesn't want to work. So hopefully you can hear the copyright-free background music. My audio's coming in through clear. And yeah, we'll just go ahead and get to it. I'm going to try my best to monitor the chat and the old Discord. We'll see how well that goes. But yeah, it looks like on the Discord, some random person joined. Old Bjorn has a small PP. A very targeted account for a very specific person, which is always fun and interesting. But yeah, got the usual people in on the YouTube chat, so that's always fun. All right, we're gonna jump into it. So today I'm gonna be making the UNU Starfire. It's gonna be largely based on a 58 Packard Starlight, but I want to incorporate a little bit of 58, 57 Imperial. Mainly, kind of more on the sides and the overall longer look. So let me pull up some reference photos here of what I'm talking about. So this is a Packard Starlight. This is the main vehicle that was sponsored, and overall, I really like it. That's why it made its way onto the sponsor list. An interesting front end, not too crazy, and then the taillights are, of course, very interesting. But I'm not really a fan of just kind of how it looks from the side. It looks a little squished. So that's why we're kind of bring in the Imperial, which is a very similar looking car from the same period. Things I don't like about the Imperial are kind of just the front and the back. I think this is a little, I don't know, too much grill for me. But I really like the profile. Let's see if I can find, because it kind of has like this curve that goes down the car. Kind of makes it look like a, I don't know, like a boat or something. And so I think I'm going to incorporate some of that into this car, this sort of side profile of the Imperial, but with some of the more details from the Packard, particularly the front, because I really like this aspect of it. The rear end I might get a little creative, because this is, I'm going to try to find a decent like high-res picture. So this is a bit much, you know, with the extra little dealios here. We'll kind of see how it all turns out. But yeah, and the idea I'm thinking to have in mind for this is kind of the top tier, like most high end or higher end car. So like something above the 750 Deluxe. This is almost like a Cadillac or something like that. This is kind of what I'm thinking. So I might not give it all the different trim models. We'll see how that plays out. But definitely it's going to be something high up there on the hierarchy of vehicles. So that's kind of what I'm going for. All right. It's been a year since I made UNU 6.0. That's has it. And so it's kind of fun. But yeah, UNU 6.0 V6. It's good stuff. And then yeah, the copyright free music. I put on. What I do is I go into the YouTube audio library and I just set the mood and the genre and just play whatever pops up. And usually it's most recent at the top, so hopefully it's some new stuff. We don't get anything that we've heard before. Not that I think anyone was keeping track of the copyright-free music that they've heard. And of course, ads on streaming. All right, so time to get started. So this is going to be the Starfire. And then what will the fancy UNU code be? Well, I think I'm going to go ahead and see who sponsored this vehicle. Peppermint sponsored this one, so I'm going to go PM for Peppermint. 113 for the current date, and then of course LTC for light transport civilian. I feel like I've done a 113 before. 112. Okay, so clear out all this. Every UNU starts as a different UNU. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and start with the sedan model. All right. Oh yes, very outdated wheels and everything. So let's go ahead. Step one, and I apologize, I'm getting over sickness still. I had the flu last week, and so yeah, I still have a bit of a cough. All right, get rid of all that. This is always the fun part of like stripping everything down. Try not to. I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that sentence, so I'm just gonna give up. But yeah, stripping everything down is always the fun part. Figuring out what body aspects to keep and which ones to get rid of. The wheels are definitely one to go. This is the old wheel design. Very soothing music. All right. So of course I'm probably going to keep the same chassis, so a lot of kind of the core is going to stay the same, although this stuff right around here is going to change. Probably end up changing a lot of the greenhouse, but for now I just have to get this set up to be a good base. And part of that is getting rid of the budget seats and the budget steering wheel. That's what I call an open plan there. I think I'm going to give this bucket seats. Seems like I kind of have an idea of what I want to do with the interior of this car. I want to make it a 1950s idea of sporty. So not like totally like Corsair, but something more along the, I don't know, something sporty. Yeah, we'll see how it turns out if this ends up being a better fit for the Plymouth Fury kit. Possibly. I mean, it's going to have fins a bit closer to that. Huh, no UNU logo on the back of the seat, huh? Interesting. And then Silverado says a bit ahead of its time, but still looks the part. I'm not sure. Maybe. We'll see how it all turns out. This is all like pseudo holiday music. Deck the Halls Trap remix. I always hate when there are those extra duplicate items that I don't notice. Okay. Not gonna worry about this, but I will take these V's down. And I also won't really worry about the trim, because this car doesn't have a lot of trim. Well, no, it does. But I can, so I guess I'll leave that there for now. This trim can go. Alright. I think I'm gonna kind of, might as well just leave it the same wheelbase. I mean, it's not really gonna be a similar sized car. Let's get some wheels. And the old MTS modeling helper. Of course, we're gonna give it wire wheels. These are some nice wheels. I'm happy with how this turned out. Make sure I got everything. All right. Copy. Another one of my fancy Excel programs. Bring wheels so they align with the texture sheet. Wheel left back. This is stuff for Flans mod. Just redoing how the wheels are set up. The cool thing is if you set the wheel, like one of these model groups, wheel, back, front, whatever, and it's not defined with a hitbox, it's considered part of the core. And so this way, these wheels will spin and steer like they're supposed to, but because they're not part of the left front wheel or left back wheel or whatever, and they don't have a hitbox assigned to just the plain front or back, these will rotate, but when a wheel gets shot off, they won't disappear, only the wheel will. So that's kind of neat. Alright. And have to translate this one as well. By 32. Yeah, Flans is very archaic. It is not the best in terms of, vehicle physics or features or things like that. It's very much, you'd tell that it started at 1.2.5, but, and it might have even been earlier than that. That's just the version I remember. But where Flans excels is the combat aspect. So there's like these whole game modes that you could set up. The guns and the vehicles and everything work really well together. And then of course, it's the whole team deathmatch aspect, which is actually really cool. I had a team deathmatch server for a while. Part of why I am working on these vehicles and kind of want to put them back into Flans mod is I want to revive that team deathmatch server, but we'll see. Alright, now the reason I wanted to start with the legally distinct 57 Chevy is this kind of mouth here is a good shape to start with for this grill right here. So that's kind of where I'm going to get started with this guy. That's the body feature I'm going to start with. Yeah, Flans was not the best for civilian stuff, that's for sure. But um, never really was meant to be. I was one of the few people that made civilian things, aside from Manus. He was the UNU of Flans mod, if you will. They kind of made everything. Funny little fact. The SMP parts pack was the inspiration for the UNU parts pack, to have like a centralized parts library. And in my hubris, I thought that I could do the same thing for MTS. Turns out not the case, but that was sort of the inspiration there. Alright, we have the dirty work done, so now we can actually start making stuff. True, I forgot about poker. Poker's Garage Zero was huge. It was huge on the scene. It's a bummer poker never made more stuff for immersive vehicles, but Oscar did. Oscar's keeping that dream alive. Alright. We're getting started there. Yeah, right. Tune in for the vehicle modeling stave for the freaking history of vehicle modeling communities, whatever. It kind of blows my mind that I've been around for so long. Not that I had any prominence before UNU, but I existed, which is kind of an achievement in and of itself, I guess. But yeah, UNU is really where I started mattering on any kind of stage, which is kind of cool, I mean, it's always crazy seeing people use UNU and stuff in like memes and whatever. It's very humbling to see the I don't know what the millions of downloads actually amounts to, Seeing it out in the wild is always kind of a thrill. All right. Oh, look at that. It's already starting to take some shape. Alright, now this is where it actually starts becoming its own vehicle. I'm going to try to make these kind of poke out and have this kind of gap here. So a defining feature. And this is also where I'm going to do the old texture wipe. Yeah, one piece at a time. That's a classic. All right. All right. Now the fun part is going to be lining up this kind of angle here. And it's even one on the left and two on the right. Look at that. All right. Yeah, the lore deepens over on the old Bjorn corner with freaking a new account joining. Very, very targeted. Odd.
This is that fun part where I have to do all this math to get everything to line up properly. I have to remember that a German wrote this program, and so I have to use commas. And there we go. Fantastic. That right there. That is UNU quality. All right. Ender joins the chat. Welcome to the stream. Okay. Perfect. Now this is the hard part, getting this to kind of curve nicely. And then show. This is the interesting part here. It's making this side match up with this side. So I take the 3, or the 2, and I copy it over to the 3, and so on and so forth. Alright. So now that's lined up there, but then I have to make this part line up as well. Which means I have to subtract it by 3/16.
which just so happens to make 0. I did a thumbs up emoji in real life as if I have a camera. So yeah, prices is something I've been wanting to implement with UNU, because there is that currency item that is uncraftable, and the idea is that one Blackthorn credit is equivalent to $1, $1 in 1960, because in 1960 the minimum wage was $1. Very convenient. And so the idea is that at Blackthorn, it's a universal labor credit, and so yeah, the idea being that if there's a new car, it's more. And so I try to make the car prices reflect the actual price. And so, like 1960 would be the baseline. Newer cars are more expensive because of inflation. Older cars are cheaper, again because of inflation. And then that would kind of make it all balance out. So that's something I've been playing with, especially because you can have multiple material lists. Right now, every UNU vehicle has 2 sets of material lists for some stupid reason, because it was to make it so that the material lists were compatible between 1.12 and 1.16. But then Don Bruce and I put together like a table along with some other people from the community, and no longer that was no longer necessary. So, all right. So yeah, I want to. Long story short, I want to implement some sort of pricing scheme. Oh yeah, looks a little goofy, but I can live with that for now. So I like how this part looks. Let's see if I go. I feel like that. Yeah, that doesn't really help much. No, I think it's fine. If anything, I'll just pull this back a little bit, or maybe bring everything down a pixel. The plot thickens. Peppermint was the one being the evil twin all along. Ah, yes, the wonderful world of alt accounts. Okay. I also have to build in a little subframe for this car. Like a radiator core thing like I did for the PMC Concorde. Yeah, I'm not gonna bother with this trying to preserve the texture map nonsense. I'm just gonna delete and remap everything. All right, not too shabby. It's funny because it kind of looks like you could tell like where the parts come from the other models, but it's such a different design that it really kind of ends up taking on a little identity of its own. Okay, let's bring that V down here, because this is nice, and it even fits perfectly. Yeah, this looks pretty good. Yeah. Yeah, Laura points out it is interesting how like not too many people show up to the streams, even though there's a bunch of people on UNU. I mean, people join Discords and then just park. You know, I use the Discord purge feature, but that only kicks people that are not seen on Discord as a whole. So, I mean, it is what it is. I like that the core audience is here. It's nice. All right, so it's triple. So if I boom. There we go, and I won't even have to do any texture fuckery. Okay. So now we do the old, my existing template is inadequate, so I pull out another one to start on the subframe here. My favorite part about, well, I guess it's not my favorite part, but like a fun part of making vehicles is when you come back to a model you made and you're just like, damn, like this turned out nice. Like the just the subtle curves on the front and back. Like it's a very basic model when you look at it, because it's just a boxy 70s car. Like the back right here is just flat, but then there's just this subtlety of like the curves and the little emblem. And again, just like the subtle curves, I'm really happy with how this one turned out. I think it looks really nice. Just the way everything kind of pieces together. And yeah, so this is the beginning of me actually taking V7 into account, because you see the fender line is right here. So like all this stays as part of the body, and then this is part of the fender. And so a lot of the older, well, not older, like every UNU model, this is part of the fender just because that's how the mesh ended up. And so you take the fender off, you can see into the cabin. So this is kind of this is the first passenger car I've made that kind of has V7 in mind. And I always just like the subtleties of how like these different pieces line up. I think it's cool because like this turn signal right here, this is the whole turn signal, and then this part is transparent so that there's no Z fighting, and then there's just this little tiny bit that sticks out to give it just a little detail. I always have a lot of fun with that kind of stuff. I'm taking more of a liking to these little details like the bumpers and especially the dashboards. Like making dashboards has been a fun learning process. As anyone who remembers the early UNUs knows that the dashboards are dog water. Just like, in the UNU Rabbit, there are still plenty of vehicles that need freaking V5 or V4 treatment. But yeah, so clearing all this out. just so I can get down to the subframe here. But yeah, the subframe is pretty basic, so this is pretty much what it is. And then it connects to the inner fender. But hey, it's something, which is better than what it used to be. All right. Again, so the vehicle doesn't look totally goofy when it gets stripped down for parts and you park in the wrong part of town here. Okay. All right. Boom. This is the starting point for sure, but not where we're going to end up. So this part generally is fine. I just have to scoot this guy forward a smidge. It's always interesting seeing how differently all these vehicles are proportioned. Don't need that anymore. You see like how far forward the fender is. Alright, so this is 1x4. And this is 4x2. This is the old rise over run here. Bam, or bam. And then 0.25. Come on. There we are. Beautiful. Yeah, remodeling old models. That's always fun. Alright, well hey, that's not too bad. Let's see how everything lines up. Cool. But yeah, the backlog definitely becomes a whole thing. Takes on a life of its own. Because I mean, I wanna remodel vehicles, but it turns into such a chore when you've got freaking 20 or 30 like unique models, let alone the Jasons. Suffering from success, I suppose. Alright, let's get this here. Ah, crap, this has a 6-cylinder in it. I need to upgrade that. 55, 12 parts. What is this goofy song? What the fuck? Alright, back to normal music. Jesus Christ. Alright. So yeah, some issues I'm gonna see popping up here all revolve right around here. So this box isn't even needed. And I guess the same with this. Now it's all behind. I think this needs to be copied over. Right. Alrighty. Hey, we got a non-MTS character in the chat. Look at that. I'm glad you appreciate the content. Alrighty. See, the only part that's really going to be a booger is this right here. So I can't really cleanly get rid of it. Boom. Alright. And I might actually be able to just... And now we're listening to lullabies. Can't make this shit up. Alright, that looks a little better. Now, I think I'm actually just going to go in a different direction here. Alright, this looks a little better because it kind of has like this whole little housing thing in there. Alright, now I check back on chat now that I've done this hyper fixation on this tiny little part of a car that no one's really gonna pay attention to, but I know that it looks better from this angle. But yeah, updates on real life projects. So the Corvair is doing the best it can. I still have it, the insurance company totaled it, but little known fact, just because an insurance company totals your car doesn't make it not your car. Keep that in mind. You can still keep it. So I still have the Corvair. I actually, last summer, drove it up to Canada for a Corvair club, like regional meet, which is pretty cool. So I got my passport and did all that, and it made the trip all right. Until the way back, it lost vacuum and didn't have any power, so it was a long trip home, but worked out fine. Corvair made it. What was really funny is there were cars that were towed up to Canada, and so they were down there in their little trailer, and they wouldn't start. And so because so there's in the Corvair community, there's this event called the Econo Run, and so this one in Canada was the regional Econo Run for Pacific Northwest, and the whole idea is you drive this road course and try to get the best fuel economy. I got first place in my class, despite getting lost in the mountains due to bad directions. So that's kind of an achievement there. But yeah, and so like the whole point is going up there and doing this drive. It's like the main event. And the trailer Queen Corvair didn't start up, but mine that's still all bashed up did. I even got third place in the car show in my class because there weren't that many cars in my class, so that was kind of funny. Um, but yeah, so the Corvair is doing all right. Oh, old Bjorn, Canada, I feel sorry for you. But yeah, it was we stayed in east of Vancouver. It's Fort something or other, I forget. But it was we drove up there with like 3 other Corvairs, which is cool. We were like a little pack. Crossing the border was fun. And like, oh, you guys all together? And it's like, oh no, I've never seen these other Corvair owners in my life. But yeah, so that was a cool little event, and it's good to keep the Corvair alive. And then, yeah, I mean, I've got all sorts of stuff going on. I'm the newsletter editor for a couple of my clubs now. One, um, one club I took over for, the old newsletter editor was this old guy, and it was like a very colorful Word document was the newsletter. And so I kind of updated a little bit, made it kind of nice looking, and got some positive feedback from that. I started this January. So I spent a lot of yesterday doing is getting all that set up. And then, yeah, I've got the Trabants. It's still kind of like I go out there, because I have them both parked in my driveway right now. And it's like, it still feels a little surreal having been like on the lookout for a Trabant, just one, for so long, and then stumbling into a situation where I could buy 2 of them. So now I have 2 Trabants, which is crazy. And they're the old ones too, like I like. So yeah, it was got one of them running, as anyone who's on the Discord knows. Drove it around, took it to some car shows. Unfortunately, I don't have it registered yet, so it's the trip permit expired. So now it's just chilling. But yeah, so I'm a proud owner of a pair of Trabants, which is insane to think about, because we're all in the MTS community. We know how much everyone loves the Trabant, and how it's one of those things where such an out there car, and it's so fun to drive around. Like, it is hilarious. I took it to a few Cars and Coffee events around me, and and yeah, it's just like everybody comes up and they just love it, and they're just like, it is such a piece of shit, and it's amazing. Like, it is, and like it's just every because people are like, then I'm like, oh yeah, it's a 2-stroke, and I just lose it. It's a lot of fun driving the Trabant around. I haven't gotten over yet. I haven't gotten over it yet. It's still like, yeah, it's just a blast. 10 out of 10 would recommend getting a Trabant and driving it around town as if it's a normal car. Cuz like that's what I like about these old cars, is just driving them as if they're normal. It's like my favorite thing, because like I'll be behind the wheel of one of my cars, and I'll be sitting in traffic, and I'll just like zone out, and then I'll remember, oh, I'm in a freaking awesome car. And it's just it I don't know. There's something about it. It keeps you kind of connected to where the cars come from and what they're meant to do. They're meant to be driven, they're meant to be used. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's a great way to really stay connected to everything that they are, because they are cars. They're cars, and it's so fun to use them, have them be seen. It's great. Definitely not a fan of the whole pavement princess nonsense. They're cars. They can get wet. But yeah. yeah, and then I've been working on my Chrysler. I have a 53 Chrysler, and the power steering went out on it a while ago. And it's been a whole ordeal trying to get that working again. But what the fuck is this music, dog? I don't want to listen to a harmonica or a kazoo. Um, but I've been making good progress on that. It's been a mission, but that mission is hopefully wrapping up soon. I've had to special order some seals because, like, I could go. It's a whole thing. Um, this power steering unit. It's actually the very first power steering available on a passenger car. It was offered in a 1952 Chrysler. Mine's is a 53, but it has the same style of unit. And then in late 53, they went to a different unit. But yeah, all that to say, it's pretty cool working on like something that is. It's like old to the point where you can't find parts for it. Like there's no such thing as just picking up the seals for a 53 Chrysler power steering unit. So I have to like cross reference, and I found seals based on the measurements, but then of course they're like not the right thickness, and so I have to get some shims made so I can shim the seals to the right thickness, because these are seals that like they're held in with clips and they locate bearings, and so they have to be the right thickness. You can't just like shove it in there. So yeah, I learned a lot about shaft seals and all that. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to getting that one back on the road. My Chrysler is like my nicest car. It still looks like shit because it's an old unrestored car. The interior is like falling apart and made out of horsehair and everything. But it's it's a nice car. It's like an executive car, and it's got power steering and a good heater and all that. So that's that's a project I'm looking forward to kind of wrapping up. And of course, then I could do the fancy stuff because I have other stuff for that car. Like I want to put a visor on it. I want to put a spotlight in it, and I have some of the parts. I have the spotlight and stuff, but I have a rule where I don't do cosmetic things to cars that don't run. And so I have a little backlog of stuff that I want to do. All right, this is starting to look okay. I'm just trying to figure out what to do on the bottom here because there's no bumper, and I kind of want it to. But yeah, we'll see. This is turning out okay. I might actually lower the car a pixel to kind of give it a slightly different look. We'll see. All right. Oh yeah, places that old cars get strapped. Yeah, that's always a fear, right? Is that the cars will become obsolete and then you won't be able to drive them. A casual Oregon W though is that we don't have safety inspections. Um, in There are two metro areas in Oregon where you have to get cars that are a certain age emissions tested. And so I live in the greater Portland metro area. Yeah, get doxxed. But so if a car is newer than 1978, you have to get it smogged. And then down in southern Oregon, in the Rogue Valley down there, it's like a moving calendar thing. It's like if it's older than 10 years, newer than 30 years, then you have to get it smogged or something like that. So we have a 79 station wagon that my brother drives, and man, he has to get that thing smogged. And it is something else. We got it. We got it to pass smog by like getting a new catalytic converter and putting it on there, but like it kind of half fell off, and the guy at the smog station just did not care, and so it miraculously passed. Because like half the exhaust was leaking out. But fresh air intake, or recirculation or whatever. But yeah, that was interesting. Um, I couldn't imagine trying to get like they made Trabants until 1990. Could you imagine trying to get a 1989 Trabant smogged? Like that's just not gonna happen. Um, so yeah, luckily the wagon, 79 wagon, which is like which is what this is based on, which is pretty cool. Um, that's like the only car that I have to get smogged. Another W for classic car ownership is you can pollute all you want, it doesn't matter. Yeah, the disappointment of older cars is hunting down those parts. Yeah, I mean it's a bummer. This Chrysler's been parked for like 2 years because I'm gonna see if I could find a picture of this part that I had to replace. Now this is Dr. Luigi goes on a fucking tangent about power steering for a Chrysler, but so yeah, this is not the. It's very hard to find info about this power steering unit. Just first off, like just finding info is hard. So this is what the power steering unit looks like. It's the external line type because it has these external lines. And you can see, like, if you could even get one, they're super expensive. Luckily, I don't have to. I'm not buying a different one. Like I'm rebuilding the one I have. But there's this shaft right in here. This is kind of the end where it pokes out. It's the sector shaft. So this is a manual steering shaft. Oh, here we go. So this is another manual one, but and this is a power steering one. Look at that. This is the part that broke on my power steering unit. Luckily I didn't have to pay that much. I paid about half that. But on this is the power steering shaft, the pitman arm shaft, and on it is this little roller on the end, and it has ball bearings in there. Now, the way this works is there's basically two halves of the unit. So you have this section right here. This is the power. Hopefully my cursor is showing up. Okay, it should be. So this is the power piston. This is the cylinder that does the hydraulic action that actually moves moves the wheels. And the shaft here, there's like a little cam or like a crank that hooks to the piston, and that piston moves back and forth, turns this shaft. And then over here is the actual steering box where that worm roller is. This is the part that connects to the steering wheel, and there's a worm shaft in there, and that pivots the end of this pitman arm shaft, which is this guy right here. And so what happened, and then in here is like the valve body. So when you turn this, it pushes the valves open for the direction you want to steer, and then it opens the valves, hydraulic pressure pushes the correct piston, and then this piston is what actually moves the shaft. And so the only stress that this roller end faces, this end right here, the only stress that gets is you moving the steering wheel. Most of the stress is from these pistons shoving on the shaft with the hydraulic pressure from the pump. Well, what happened, and this is a theory, because my roller shaft was all busted. The when I took it apart, the little ball bearings in there, some of them were split in half and sitting in the bottom of this little case right here, because this is the bottom of the unit. And so a bunch of the ball bearings are sitting down there, and the little roller was cocked off to one side and causing everything to jam up. And so like the steering didn't work; it was all jammed. Um, and so my theory of what happened is the seals were old, and there's a seal inside here separating the hydraulic portion from the worm shaft, because the worm shaft requires a heavyweight oil. It's like almost grease, but not quite. And then this hydraulic shaft is like 10 weight oil, which is very thin because it has to be pumped through everything. And so this seal that separates the two, Chrysler Corporation loves to have these fucking bullshit seals that like are super important, but then 70 years goes by and they get old, and so some of this fluid under pressure worked its way into this housing, and so then it kind of washed away the grease. That may have happened when I installed the power steering pump, because when I bought the car, it didn't have the power steering pump. It just had this gearbox with nothing powering it, so the steering was really hard. Because some ding dong converted to 12 volt through an alternator on there. The power of the steering pump is driven by the generator. It's like a whole thing. So what happened was this seal blew, and that may have been before or after I installed the pump, and this gear oil got all washed away. Now, I couldn't find any remnants of heavyweight oil in the entire system, so my theory is that this happened before I owned the car, back at some point in the past. And then, when the power steering system was removed, so someone could throw a 12 volt alternator on there, because 12 volts is so much better, now you don't have any power, you don't have any pressure, like fluid, pressurizing the system. This piston isn't doing anything. Now, this shaft goes all the way through to the worm gear. You see that it's, this whole long shaft here. This is the part where the piston pushes it. This is the output. And so this is the part that normally gets all the stress. This end over here with the actual roller, the only stress it has is the light stress on the steering wheel to basically engage the valves. So what happened was when cranking on the steering wheel with no power steering pressure, that roller end is getting stress that it was not designed for, because you can see here this is a non-power steering unit. You can see there's like several ribs here. Again, it's got multiple passages, a lot of contact area. This is a power steering unit with only two, and it's a lot weaker because it's not meant to force the steering wheel. Like, it's not meant to turn the wheels. It's just meant to pivot the valve control body in here and offer a little bit of resistance. Most of the effort is done with this hydraulic system. And again, part of that is because the gear ratio is different. And so my theory is that a combination of the heavyweight lubrication being gone because the seal in here blew, and the lack of power assistance caused those ball bearings to fail, caused the part to break. Luckily, I found another shaft, like literally a total stroke of luck. I paid like $150 for it, so not what this is, although it is kind of cool to see that. Well, this one isn't even the right one. This is slightly different than. Oh no, this is the same one. So yeah, it looks like I can get another spare if I need it. But yeah, so this is the part that physically broke that I was able to find a replacement of. I actually have it sitting on my desk. And then all these seals were a whole other ball game to find. But yeah, I was able to find some of them. And then I was able to find seals that will work for everything, but now I just have to get those shims made. so that I can properly space them out, because they, like I said, they locate bearings and they're held in with snap rings, so they have to be the right thickness. So there's your crash course on Chrysler power steering. Oh, look at that! And like everyone is locked in to my spiel. I'm not all behind on the chat, which is cool. But yeah, so that's what I've been dealing with for like on and off for a couple years. But I'm looking forward to getting that all done. I was able to find all the seals I needed for the power steering pump, so I have that rebuilt. It's all ready to rock. And the only thing that leaked on the car was the power steering unit. There's like a freaking quarter-inch of grease all on the frame around the power steering unit, and so have that all scraped off and ready to get that cleaned up. All right. So I think I'm gonna leave this front end kind of how it is for now. Well, I'll do a little bit more of the bumper detail. It kind of cuts to the middle here. But yeah, I could go either way with how far up it sits, because like part of me doesn't like it, but part of me kind of fucks with it. So we'll see. I'm gonna start working on the rear end, but I might lower everything down, like this top body line down by a pixel, just to kind of give it that longer, lower, wider look that eventually cars like the Baron and stuff take to the extreme. All right. Yeah, Trabant smogged. I want to take it. So there's a few funky things I want to do with the Trabant, like just for shits and giggles. One is try to get it smogged. And another one is I have a friend with a Citroen Ducheveau, which I'll pull up. You know, this thing. I have a friend with one of these. I should have her drive it like this. It's freaking hilarious. Anyway, we want to drag race them at the racetrack, so that would be hilarious. Okay, well, this is a pretty typical trunk design, so I might be able to keep some of this, although I want to give it a little bit of depth. I accidentally clicked the shape thing. But yeah, so we want to drag race, because the Citroen Ducheveau is 2-cylinder, air-cooled. It's a filthy 4-stroke. But, yeah, it'd be pretty funny to drag race the two of them. And then, yeah, I also would love to try to get the Trabant smogged. That would just be freaking hilarious. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and throw all of this out. That's all going to change. But yeah, I guess that's the Chrysler. I didn't really continue on talking about some of my other projects, but those are the big projects that I've been working on. My Rokon I took apart, put back together, repainted the frame. That all went together smoothly. I don't know if I ever talked about my Rokon project in UNU, but yeah, for those of you who don't know what a Rokon is, Google it. It's a very interesting little motorcycle. It's a 2-wheel drive motorcycle, like the ultimate prepper mobile. And what's cool is my Rokon's a 1964, and it's a knockdown kit because the company was being liquidated. So they sold their unassembled stock as these kits. Mine is serial number 1, which is pretty cool. I lucked out on that. I was actually looking at a different Rokon, when I was trying to buy it, and then it sold, so I got this one. And yeah, pretty neat. And yeah, Laura says that's a lot of info, probably referring to my info dump about the power steering. Yes, it is, and it's info that I've acquired over like a couple years over dealing with trying to find a freaking seal. So it's been fun. But, it is actually fun because it's like, who else knows that much about power steering from 70 years ago? It's funny because I call places and I'm like, hey, can you help me with this? And they'll be like, oh, you should just convert it. You should just modernize it. I was putting the Chrysler back to. I was putting the what music stop playing. All right. I was putting the Chrysler back to 6 volts so that the power steering worked, and so I went to this place to get 6-volt battery cables made because 6-volt battery cables are extra thick, and because they have to handle twice the current. And I'm at this guy's place saying, hey, I want you to make me some custom battery cables for a 6-volt car. And this guy, whose job it is to make custom battery cables, is telling me I should just go to 12 volt. And it's like, bruh, I'm here literally soliciting your business because you make 6-volt battery cables, and now you're trying to like tell me to just go and buy them from O'Reilly's, and it's like, yeah, I just interesting. But that's the reason I like these old cars, is because they're backwards and weird, and so it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna. I want this stupid 6-volt system because it's original and fun, and I kind of need it in order to do the power steering anyway. All right. Now we're getting started with all this. The doors are going to be a little simpler because they don't have that little thingy. Eventually I'm going to probably do like a little bit of a dip. We'll see. We'll see. And then yeah, no, drag racing those little cars is like the whole stunt. It would be so funny because I do a car show in the summer that's held at the International Raceway near us, and they do like actual drag races, and so it would just be so funny to drag race these two European pieces of crap. It would be so fun. And yeah, Laura says that her end is lagging behind. I think there's like a significant delay in the chat, or maybe like, your videos behind or something and exacerbated it. But yeah, it's it's always interesting being a little bit behind on the conversation and whatnot. Excuse me. Okay. kind of want to have. Let's go ahead and delete all this. So kind of like this little bulge here to give it some nice defined shape, because it kind of goes with the front end here, where there's just this pretty sharp little curve in. And yeah, from this angle, you can definitely see the difference. Okay, why? Oh, okay, so the end of the page. Alright. There we go. Alright. 70 more songs loaded up. Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to go for like this little, a more subtle curve. Because yeah, a lot of the other UNU cars are a little cleaner, and so I want to have this kind of flow. And yeah, definitely very pronounced fins on this guy. What is up with this music playback? Okay. It's like it gets all triggered when I just don't have it as like the main window. Okay. we go. So this is the fun part, is figuring out these complex shapes. So this is the light, but just this face of it, like this top part isn't. And then this is all like the fin, for like the layered fin look that I've got right here. But I'm also kind of trying to do my own thing a little bit. So I'm not totally like bought into the. Alright, one sec. Alright. But yeah, so that's kind of what I'm going for. But we'll see how it all turns out. Yeah, internet is very riddled with intrusive advertisements. It's annoying. Alright, I think I'm going to borrow the 650 rear bumper to continue on here. It's got a similar shape. Wow, that's not bad. Yeah, you gotta love when they show you ads that are basically rage bait. Alright. Getting somewhere. I'm gonna have to redesign the greenhouse here in order for the full vision to come into effect. Because right now these fins look stubby. What, you don't like PragerU? I don't know, man. My son went to PragerU and I'm mighty proud. That's a reference to the satirical bumper sticker that you could find in the expanded UNU parts pack. Or the parts pack, or somewhere around there. Right next to the Ted Cruz Zodiac Killer bus advertisement. Products you may also be interested are This Man Ate My Son, Ted Cruz patriotic bumper sticker. I love some of those UNU bumper stickers. They're great. Real peak UNU satire. There we go. That's a little better. I love hybridizing cars. There we go. It looks a little better. A smaller fender flare to really accentuate those fins. All right. Where did everyone else go? I think they all got bored. I don't know how many people. I think there are currently 3 viewers. But yeah, I'm probably gonna wrap up. I'm getting a little worn out here. That is funny watching the evil old Bjorn. Uh, well, I guess that's like an hour ago, but whatever. Um, but yeah, I'm just gonna finish up some of these back end details and then probably call it a night. Yeah, not exactly invigorating conversation at this point. Well, I like the moaning backing track on this. Early cut. I'm pretty sure I had it set for the event set for 2 hours. Yeah, not really an early cut. We're 3 minutes over. All right. This is the boring part, is the very fine tuning of these little tiny things. Yeah, I'm bummed to hear you're stuck in the ER, Laura. Hopefully everything works out for the best. Don't know too much about what's the details, but well, you like to search for little issues. That's what makes you a good bug tester. You're great at finding things that I would have never noticed. That's for sure. Well, it's going to be a mess of Z fighting down here, but whatever. That's going to all be cleaned up. This doesn't look too bad. I like this curve in here. I just have to clean up this pocket. But I think I'm going to go ahead and call this good for now. It's not too bad. I think it looks pretty nice. It's this little gentle curve at the end. Probably going to redesign the greenhouse to look a bit more sporty. Probably get rid of this little window here and make it a single pillar. Maybe a bigger, more pronounced rear window. And I'm kind of leaning towards just making it a hardtop, a sport sedan and sport coupe only. Um, but yeah, overall, I'm kind of liking how it's turning out. I got these little, went with this little body line here to make it a little more interesting. Same thing with right here, had this flare out a little bit to just give a little bit more unique kind of deal. And yeah, I really like this front end. Like this, I think it looks really nice, especially once I put that bumper detail in and whatnot with the quad headlights. I think this front end came together pretty nicely. Definitely embodies the spirit of what I'm trying to do. And then this, I don't know if you may have noticed this like dual part right here. This is because this is a 1/2, but then right here it's 1/3. And so this is kind of a way to make both of those work together so that it kind of comes up a little more. So there's going to be like a line right here, but it should look all right. Kind of gives it the fin, makes the fin more pronounced, and giving that like a nice even curve. Because that's like the one thing that's hard is this is one angle, this is another angle, and there's no easy way to make this work without having these two separate boxes here. But it should work fine. But yeah, overall, I think it looks pretty nice. Just have to clean up the greenhouse a little bit, give it a little a little more sass, 'cause it still looks a little frumpy. So maybe give this a little rake here, make it maybe come down a pixel, just to kind of give it like a lower, sportier look, as much as a car from the 50s can be. Yeah, I'll probably do another stream. Maybe Wednesday or Thursday. I have something I have to do for work tomorrow evening, but yeah, I'll make another event on the Discord, and hopefully I'll see you all there. But with that,